This is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. It is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. Because when systems don't meet, when they're out of balance or not in sync with one another, they can't be controlled centrally. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. Every nation that signed on to Agenda 21 has its local Agenda 21 plan. People in the United States are completely unaware of this. If I go out and talk about this, the United States press attacks me and calls me, which is totally ridiculous. It is but it's not a theory. It's a fact. The three pillars of United Nations Agenda 21 are economy, ecology, and equity, the three E's. And everyone sort of thinks that they know what that means, the idea of social equity. It must mean that, well, everyone's going to have access to clean water and clean air, and no one's property is going to be used as a dumping ground because they are at a poverty level. But really what social equity is about impoverishing huge portions of the population and bringing down the developed nations. Everything that we're looking at now is destined to collapse our economies. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. And what major corporations want in this development is to be able to have full movement of workers without borders or boundaries, to be able to move their goods through without regulations, and to reduce wages. And so this is the goal. So this is what you find with social equity. And of course, economy and ecology is about, these are the three circles: economy, ecology, and social equity. And where they meet in the center is balance. But really that balance is a communitarian balance. So it's not balance of well-being of the people. What it is it's a balance for corporations so that they can exploit and control and have populations in an area, in tightly packed, dense areas, so that they can be surveilled and managed. And this is what that balance looks like as far as the development of a totalitarian state is. The mainstream media is owned by 5 major corporations, and you're not going to get this information from the mainstream press. So you need to be your own press. You need to educate yourself. You need to get out there and educate your neighbors, your community, your real community. You need to help your children understand that they're being indoctrinated from pre-kindergarten to postgraduate school. All of us have a responsibility to ourselves and to others. This is true community, to work for personal freedom. And always remember that even though we work as a group, if we do work as a group, we're all individuals in those groups, and we answer only to ourselves. And this is essential. It's essential as free human beings. This is what we are. We are free, and we need to continue to be free. And I do believe that we will win, but we have to become aware that there is a fight, and then make our friends and our neighbors and our community aware as well, and work together.
until we now have reached this point at the end of Kali Yuga where we have such a dumbed down population that people cannot even recognize what is going on. There's a mass die-off, there's genocide happening, there are incredible things, but most people are in denial of them because they can't handle the truth. You see, that's the main thing of the ego. It prefers ignorance to knowledge. And so we're at a time when very few people are willing to know everything that we need to know in order to change the situation for the better. So we're at the end of that period where almost all, even egos, let alone souls, are exhausted. And they have no more creativity, which is why you see there's a death of culture. There's very little music, drama, any of the arts. They have all fallen. Even the cinema, the last art, is now mostly very trashy kind of material. And there's a loss of all moral values, all of the traditional ways that society was able to sustain itself with divine masculine and feminine energies that are all lost now in transgenderism and all of that. And so people are so confused and they have no more values and they feel so cynical and so depressed and so nihilistic that they are actually captured by what we call the lower death drive, which is a drive in the ego that wants to die. When it can't handle life and sustain its happiness, which it no longer can, even with drugs or whatever else they want, they want to get out. And so there's a massive epidemic of suicide in the world today. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yes. It's rising.
Yes, and violence and every other kind of perversion and of antisocial behavior. And the world is now run by psychopaths. And they are creating ever more monstrous tyrannies, dictatorships, and bringing about global destruction, which we can see before our eyes.
Yes.
So that's what the end of Kali Yuga is. But the blessing is this. At the end, because it is so terrible, people are beginning to awaken, which they wouldn't otherwise. They would just go into their, virtual realities and become happy slaves, of the system. But they're not even able to do that. So there is a massive awakening. That divine intelligence that is responsible for all of this is also more and more visible, more perceptible by those who turn to God or Brahman or the Buddha mind, however you want to refer to that ultimate reality. It's more accessible now. So this is a moment when we are going to see wonders of a very miraculous and beautiful kind, along with the worst horrors.
Right.
And it's a paradox.
Chân nào phải điện? Cô đi quẹt đây.
这就是这个。
哎呀呀呀！哎，这是啥呀？这是？我有手机不展示不上。哎呀哎呀哎呀哎呀哎呀！乌压压的，黑呀黑压压的。
With 175 stores, Whole Foods is the undisputed leader in organic foods and promotes locally grown. But the I-Team has found that much of Whole Foods organics are imported from China.
Honestly, I would have never flipped it over to see that it was a product of China.
But the USDA doesn't inspect imported foods. It certifies private inspectors to do the job. Whole Foods employs a company called Quality Assurance International, but the company confirms QAI has not certified any products in China. There's growing concern about the quality of food from China. Already this year, the Food and Drug Administration, which checks for food safety, stopped 260 shipments of foods like strawberries contaminated with bad pesticides, bacteria, or filth.
I think it's probably not an accident that product of China is in such small type.
Shellac.
Freedom will win. We know Russia will lose. And we really know the victory will change the world. And this will be a change that the world has long needed. The United Kingdom is marching with us towards the most important victory of our lifetime. It will be a victory over the very idea of the war. After we win together, any aggressor, it doesn't matter, big or small, will know what awaits him if he attacks international order. Any aggressor who will try to push the boundaries by force, who will inflict destruction and death on other peoples, who will try to endure his dictatorship at the expense of other people's blood, in criminal and unprovoked wars, as the Kremlin does. Any aggressor is going to lose.
Що повинно робити НАТО? Унеможливлювати застосування Росією ядерної зброї. Але, що важливо, я ще раз звертаюсь до міжнародної спільноти. Як це було до 24-го? Превентивні удари, щоб вони знали, що з ними буде, якщо вони застосують, а не навпаки. Чекати ядерних ударів Росію, щоб потім сказати, ах ти так, ну ось тримай від нас. Переглянути застосування свого тиску. Ось я вважаю, що повинна робити НАТО. Переглянути порядок застосувань.
Так. До сих пор. Просто я... 10 тисяч.
Але я не рік не досяг строфи. Але це треба рекорди. Страхотно. Це дуже погано.
Займалась.
Просто положись.
Часто ми привозили їх, нічого майже не залишилося.
Amerikan Büyükelçisi'ne buradan söylüyorum. Hangi gazetecilere yazı yazdırdığını biliyorum. Pis ellerini Türkiye'nin üzerinden çek. Çok net söylüyorum. Pis ellerini Türkiye'nin üzerinden çek. Neleri yaptırdığınızı, hangi adımları attırdığınızı, Türkiye'yi nasıl karıştırmak istediğinizi net bir şekilde biliyoruz. O pis ellerinizi, o maskeli, sırıtan yüzlerinizi Türkiye'nin üzerinden çekiniz. Bu kadar açık ve net.
In 1983, I did radio tomography with 30 watts, looking for oil in the ground. I found 26 oil wells over a 9-state area, and 100% of the time was accurate with just 30 watts of power beaming straight into solid rock. HARP uses 1 billion watts, beamed straight into the ionosphere for experiments. Picture these strings on the piano as layers of the earth. Each one has its own frequency. What we used to do is beam radio waves into the ground, and it would vibrate any strings that were present in the ground. We might get a sound back like, and we'd say, that's natural gas. We might get a sound back like, and we say that's crude oil. We were able to identify each frequency. We accomplished this with just 30 watts of radio power. If you do this with 2 billion watts, the vibrations are so violent that the entire piano would shake. In fact, the whole house would shake. In fact, the vibrations could be so severe underground that could even cause an earthquake.
Здравствуйте. Тихо, тихо, моя хорошая, тихо.
Мы извиняемся, Ольга Васильевна. Можно мы ее заберем? Здравствуйте, да ничего.